One. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode here at the Pit Bar. I should say. I'm getting tired here, but I'm gonna say this one more time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Kickpod podcast, the podcast dojo for inspirational martial arts talk. I am your host, TJ Williams, fourth degree black belt of the Chuck Norris system, on a quest to be promoted to fifth degree soon. So I'm getting keep my eyes open on emails from the UFAF organization. So definitely, I'll give everybody a heads up on that as I get through the month or get through the months. So, of course, this is a episode of describing my martial arts journey, discussing and analyzing martial art based subjects, and highlighting individuals involved in martial arts of all styles, past, present, and future. And for those who just joined me for the first time, this is a pre-recorded episode. So whatever I talk about in this episode is either done past or it's coming up. And right now we have finally reached February. And according to Groundhog's Day, we only got 6 weeks left of snow, or so they say. So, I mean, within that 6 weeks, we might get another blizzard, but I hope not. Right? And of course, we already had the deep freeze snow or deep freeze weather, which is bad. That's my kryptonite. I hate the cold. I need heat. So hopefully that comes within 6 weeks. All right. So of course, we're moving along pretty much in 2023. So it probably be summer before you know it. All right. So enough of that. Let me introduce to you my guest for this episode. Of course, he is also from Western New York as well as I am. Of course, he's from Buffalo, New York, and he's been training in martial arts for 40 years. So that's at least 14 years under, or I'm pretty much 14 years under him, and definitely, but that's a good accomplishment. Of course, I'm training in Shotokan when he's was at University of Rochester, and also trained in Ishiru in 2001, and attained a sixth degree black belt in that style in 2021, and holds a second degree black belt in American Kempo, as well as trained in other varieties of martial arts styles. Lastly, he has created his own style that which is derived from Ishiru, the Mizuchi Do. Got it. Yeah, I'll let him explain that, but yeah, he created that style, and then of course he got his own dojo in 2022. And also, here's something interesting for those who are interested in cosplay: is the executive director and CEO of the Superhero Alliance, which is very big around this area. But if you go to Comic Cons or if you're looking for some fun for the birthday parties, all right, this is probably the guy that you want to go to. Uh, and also, lastly, yeah, if you're also going to be attending the Buffalo Niagara Falls Martial Arts Festival, he will be a guest at the festival. So I'd like everybody to introduce to you Bill Reynolds. So he'd agreed to take his time to be on the show. How we doing there, Bill?
All right. Wow. What an introduction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, really, I had to do something big. So, of course, how are you doing so far?
Great. Feeling good. I was just before we started this recording, I was working on a book that hopefully will be all set to publish sometime this week, if not definitely this month.
Oh, awesome. It seemed like you're like among the guests that I talked to, like that has like books going out. I mean, I know a couple of people that I talked to, and like they have books. Of course, one person I can think of, Andrea Harkins. Yeah, she has books going out. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she also has a podcast as well. And she does like a morning show called the Java Buzz with three other ladies. So if you ever have a chance to wake or watch it around 9 o'clock, yeah, her and three ladies kind of talk about inspirational like quotes, like mostly not martial art related, but mostly yeah, life experience. Right, yeah. All right. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to take us back in time, like before martial arts enter your life. So the first question would be, who were you before martial arts?
Oh, I was a 18-year-old kid. And I guess interesting enough, for me, for martial arts, being Asian, it seemed like people assumed that I was trained in it. And all the possible racially prejudiced things they could think, I guess that one was a beneficial one for me. that people would be afraid to approach me, but I had not trained. That was something I was only child with a single parent mother, and the martial arts was nothing that she wanted me to be a part of. So I didn't really get involved with it until I went away to college.
Oh, amazing. And when you talk about people assume that you knew martial arts based on your being Asian, I mean, usually I was talking to my students, like I tell them like, you should go with assumption. Well, not assumption, but you should go with assurance. I mean, you want to stay away from assumption. You want to be sure of if you know what you're doing. You can't think what you're doing because you might be wrong.
Mm.
So yeah, kind of going over our students, I want them to be assurance of what's going on. And if they are not sure, they ask questions so they are on point. Uh, all right, so of course, here you are in college. Can you tell us like your moments in college up in Rochester?
Yeah, so the fortunately for me, my roommate from freshman year, he had started training in Shotokan, and he was talking it up through the fall semester and saying how much how what a great experience it had been for him. And he invited me more than once, and I decided in the spring semester to join him in the University of Rochester Shotokan Karate Club and started training. So that was my first training experience in the martial arts.
Yeah, and definitely, I'm probably like more familiar with Rochester nowadays because I always like drive up there because, of course, I'm a pro wrestler. I'm on an injury list right now, but I go up there for like wrestling shows, and I don't even have to use MapQuest or anything to get up there because I know how to get myself around there. It's like it's easy pickings.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So going into the martial arts. So what was your one interest that kind of kept you going to do martial arts?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Because I continued to train in Shotokan while I was at undergraduate. And then when I went on to graduate school, I found another Shotokan club near where I was attending there at the University of Pittsburgh. And I think what I liked about it was the athleticism involved. I guess the gymnastic aspects to it, just using your whole body, not just, unlike boxing where I would be focusing a lot on my upper body. We were doing kicks, we were doing punches, but we're also doing these like, um, specific ways of stepping. I just found that all very intriguing. Um, I I vaguely imagine wanted a black belt, but I actually don't recall that being really the reason why I continued to pursue it. Sadly, I guess because I didn't have a very strong internal reason for continuing with martial arts. When I didn't really have a good experience with the instructor uh, in Pittsburgh, I stopped, and I wouldn't pick up martial arts training again until I was trying to find a martial arts school for my son in 2001. So I stopped training for about, I guess, or training with a master for like 8 years. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I could like tell you from basically what I learned from my style. Of course, my style is Korean based, and I know Shotokan is Japanese style, but yet they have so similarities. And I kind of have a liking into like Shotokan because I see all these katas that are similar. And the one kata that I actually did for like the when I competed in Vegas was Impi. Yeah,
Mm.
I got like a total liking in that kata. It's like mostly the moves of the kata are like similar to what I do in like my style, and but it's like the difference in stances and how you do the technique. But that's the thing that's interesting. It's like this is like one thing I can at least learn how to get better with the style. So I mean, yeah, I'm knowing that it's not part of my style, but it's me trying to explore other styles to get better with my own style. At least have an understanding of what I'm doing with my techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of this book I'm writing is, which is about really clarifying how I have students training in Mizuchi Do is uh, looking at those katas, which, as mentioned before, this is a derivative of Ishinryu. Um, and I would still call it Ishinru if it wasn't for some, I guess, fundamental emphasis changes. As you mentioned, like different systems of martial arts emphasize different things, and it seems that I'm choosing to emphasize things a little differently. That said, a lot of the curriculum remains and would appear to anybody who studied Ishinru to be very familiar, very similar. I'm not going that far afield otherwise in a lot of the content. But looking at katas, as you mentioned, I think the wonderful instructive thing about them is to consider what are the techniques that they are having you perform and in what way. How are you accomplishing these things? And I think that that's where all the different systems will vary and how they think they should accomplish things and what they should be emphasizing.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, exactly. And definitely one guy that I'm thinking about as you're talking is Ian Abernathy. Of course, he's very known to do like um was it man bunkai, that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the bunkai. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of the words like bunkai because I took a couple of seminars and he's trying to explain like what are you doing in this kata? Like what are you actually doing? So it's always nice to like teach these students like not only the moves of the kata, it's like what are you actually doing when you actually doing the kata? You could be doing,
Absolutely.
you may be doing, yeah, you may be doing a block, but you could be doing a throw, or you could be doing a break, or you could be doing a strike. So it's
Right.
really nice that I actually, when I teach these students, like I give them an understanding of why we do this katas.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely move around with these questions because you pretty much mentioned like your mindset after the first class. You wanted to continue your training, and of course, in this case, you were trained in Shotokan, then of course you went on to go into Ishinru, and definitely what that's how would you compare Ishinru and Shotokan? Would you say they're similar or different in some kind of way?
Well, Shotokan and Ishinru are both karate. Um, so they have their origins in Okinawan martial arts. Shotokan, uh, because that system was chosen by the Imperial Japanese to become their hand-to-hand combat system, um, became very standardized and structured. It also seemed to emphasize techniques that would potentially severely disfigure or kill your opponent with a single strike. And Ishinru stayed a little bit closer to its Okinawan ways of thinking, and so has a lot more of a both a hard and soft and linear but also circular. So somebody looking at Ishinru might actually see greater flavors of Chinese gung fu in it, more so than you would if you looked at Shotokan.
Yeah, Mason. No, I look at all these movies, people are so interested in the action of the movie, but they never actually look like deep into like the whole meaning of the movie. Like for instance, the Ip Man.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, those are like good movies, and but actually paying attention and actually getting in depth in the movies, it's like this is how things were years ago. It's like you have somebody like that's proficient in one style, and yet a country takes over a country takes over, and then next they had to learn another style. And in
Mm.
this case, you say, I mean, I'm not going to train this style. I mean, but let's just say they say they want to stay in they want to train in the style they were training, but yet they have to convert to another style because that certain country didn't like the style that they're training, but yet that movie really emphasized like you have a choice of what you want to train in. Nobody has that choice for you. So that's
Right.
amazing. Amazing that they make these movies. Like really, it's like kind of like you if you don't want to read a book, and that's like they're just reading a book for you, and then you just like they just a complete understanding of what they're doing. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Can you tell us like what's your favorite moments or moments training the martial arts?
Well, I can tell you now, my favorite moments are actually being an instructor. I know one of the questions you prepared me for was like, who inspires me or what, or if there's any quotes perhaps. And I'll tell you, for myself, uh, very much influenced and inspired by the thoughts of Bruce Lee. And, one of the things, he has a couple different quotes that your listeners could probably look up on their own. One of them or a couple of them, get at this idea that he didn't believe that we should, as martial artists, codify our martial arts systems, that he felt that if you stopped growing, if you tried to fix things in place and say, this is the way it's done, your martial arts sort of dies. He believed that it should constantly be growing and evolving. And if you look at him, like, how he was influenced by all sorts of different systems, standard boxing, but also dancing and a lot of other things, where he was changing up and even challenging how Kung Fu, and I guess his origins, Wing Chun, were practiced and taught, and came up with his own system, which he then also sort of like was a little bit leery about having anybody set it down in stone. And of course, once he passed, it did get sort of set down in stone. But you could just, knowing from his most famous quote, the one like "be like water," he didn't just mean that with regard to your physical engagement with people and or challenges. He also meant mentally that you should be like water. And that is something that's very much influenced me. And so when we do our training, I'm prepared and very open to the work with any student, leading me to further evaluate and or even possibly change how I consider performing martial arts. Like one of the, this is maybe not the best example, but I had a student who we're talking about use of parrying. So one of the major differences in Mizuchi Do is that we have a real emphasis on what could be referred to as two-handed blocking, that we don't just rely on a single hand in front of us to accomplish a protection of the middle zone, high zone, or low zone attack, but rather we're going to put our other hand in, our offhand or the chambered hand, into work to provide parrying in addition to the standard block of the other hand. And what this student said to me was, when I was saying, okay, so this middle parry is going to go basically across your chest, and then you're going to put in the standard middle block. And she said, well, I can't, because of the way my body's shaped, to actually bring my parrying hand across the chest like that. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And you know what? Now that I think about it, it'll be more effective as a parry if we go sort of diagonally out and away from the chest, and intercept the striking hand of the attacker sooner. And so that was an innovation that just comes from being open to change and or new ideas. I mean, it's a subtle change in how you're executing the parry, but it goes from, I think, being a very abstract and aesthetic way of handling a parry to a much more functional one. And so I've really enjoyed that, both in the training of basic techniques, as well as when we've gone through kata, and my students ask me, what is this move doing? How come we're doing it like this? This is supposed to be a throw. I'm not getting how this will work as a throw. So we look at it and we change things accordingly.
Yeah, amazing. I can pretty much agree with that quote with "be like water" with Bruce Lee. But also, I also remember the one quote he said, "The usefulness of the cup is its emptiness," which is also a great quote. And when I think about that, you come into like let's just say you come into a karate studio and you got a cup that's already full. I mean, and then you got to at least have all these other flavors put in the cup, and next you know what happens to the cup, it overflows. It's like you're just going in there. It's useless if you're gonna like bring in a full cup in there, but you have to always have an empty cup and willing to drink whatever is like basically everything you learn is almost like a nutrition for your mind.
Mm.
So when I think about it, it's like if you're just going in there with a full cup, it's like you're just like wasting your time even going in there just drinking whatever knowledge you're going to take. So it's always best when you're going into like for me, when I go to the conventions, like or mostly like competitions, or even in this case, if I decide to go to the festival that's coming up,
Mm.
and I just want to go in there empty cup. I want to at least get better with what for my style. And I don't want to pretend that I know everything. I just want to just go in there and learn to help me get better with martial arts. So in
Yeah.
that case, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
So
best
yeah,
advice for anybody studying anything. But yeah, I would say since we're talking about martial arts, absolutely. That I think it's good to know that you're going in, especially somebody experienced and trained and accomplished, that you have a full cup. And if and you need to know that when you enter that workshop, you're gonna have to empty that cup out and try to like accept fully whatever it is they're trying to tell you.
yeah, definitely. All right, so Gabe, we're gonna get into that festival later, but I want to talk about your first black belt test. Can you like you have any memory of that black belt test?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of memories about that one. My favorite memory was actually after the promotion was completed. I've always been told, even when I was back in Shotokan, that my what the Japanese would call kime, which is could be called focus, but it could also be sort of like fighting spirit. It's always very strong. I have a lot of yang to my personality, and so a lot of what I do appears very fierce. And what my master said to me at the time, Master Jim Spetkovsky at Western York Karate Center, he said, that was excellent, Sensei. I am very proud of you and your performance and your promotion. But as you continue to train and move forward, I'd like you to consider less killing and possibly more more submission holds and less lethal conclusions. And what he was referring to, like at the time, I just when I was demonstrating my self-defense techniques, when I was demonstrating the results of my bunkai analysis of kata, I generally was coming up with very sort of like life-ending conclusions to my actions. And so I didn't realize that. I guess that's the nice thing about Ishinru. I don't know about many other systems. And I think what he was trying to remind me of is that we train in joint locks, we train in strangulation holds, we train in throws. In other words, we train in a lot of other ways of managing a crisis with an individual than having to end their life. That we could knock them out. We could just immobilize them. So it doesn't always have to be about killing. And that's highly memorable and something that I've maintained to this day, that my response to an attacker should be consistent with the threat level of their attack. And most people are not going to attack me with the idea that they're trying to take my life. So I certainly shouldn't have most of my defensive training be about how to take their lives. So that's been very memorable and very influential on me since I got my first degree.
Yeah, amazing. And also just thinking about what you were talking about, another martial arts that I had on my show, Ando Mezerah. He's also from Western New York, and he's of course I think he lives in Western Virginia or Massachusetts. But yeah, I actually catch one of his posts like on Instagram, and he did mention something about judgment. It's like if you're in a self-defense situation, you have to make the right judgment to either save a life or take a life. But in this case, if your goal is to go home after a long day at work, and you got that one person preventing you from getting home, I mean, one thing, you don't want to waste your time with that person. You want to like get him out of the way and worry about going home. I mean, you want him to go about his business. You want to go about your business. You don't want no trouble. Like you don't want to think about the trouble. You don't want to have any bad intentions of hurting somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can get like what you like when you're doing, we call these like one steps, like in our style, like somebody throws a punch at us and we gotta do like sort of series of techniques, and then from there we can end up with a takedown and with a submission hold. Right. And it's just so with my students or with my style, yeah, that's like more what we have to do. We have to have control of the situation and not make it a fight.
Right. I think, there's a couple things there. One is that I think it's your responsibility as a martial artist to not be a thug, that you are training like you're training to have, ideally striving for the ultimate in control of a dangerous situation, which means you're going to be making choices for yourself and for your attacker, understanding that your attacker might be coming to you from a position of being intoxicated, or they might be coming to you out of a space of desperation, or they might be coming to you because they're just highly agitated. But none of those things meaning that they should suffer a loss of life, as much as they might be taking actions that could seriously jeopardize yours. But you're, as a martial artist, you have a responsibility to train to a level of control and understanding that you will dictate the outcome of that engagement. And like you said, even if you're, for the most part, thinking, I want to get home and be with my family at the end of the day, sure, if that means that the only way this is going to end is by ending that other person, so be it. But the reality is, as a martial artist, you're going to be disciplined and just try to, like you said, do enough so that you get home, but not doing more than you have to, or certainly nothing regrettable, to say the least.
Yeah, usually when I actually teach my students, I always tell them like, what's your mindset when what's your mindset when you come to self-defense? Is it like, what are you going to do when you get home, or am I going to make it home? So
Mm,
they're getting out of places like out of school, out of the store, or even from their friend's house. Even though they have their parents driving them, but they have to be like the eyes and ears for their parents. Their parents is not going to pay attention to everything that happens, like once they leave that door. It's like that's your mindset. It's, am I going to make it to like school? Am I going to make it to like a certain place? Am I going to make it home?
mm,
So it's like, before you even think about what you're going to do and when you get home, you got to think about like certain situations, like even like somebody driving crazy. That's just outside of martial arts category. But yeah, they always people out there that just drive like maniacs pretty much. And you got to have your eyes open for everything. And yeah, just to be ironic, you got to watch out for the deers. Yeah.
mm, mm.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be watching out for those deers really, really well, even in the dark.
Yeah.
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 All right, so let's kind of get into your dojo. Like, what was your concept in like creating that? Like, who gave you pretty much the idea to do your own dojo? Was it your own, or somebody said, what do you think about doing your own dojo?
Yeah, I'd always imagined maybe having a dojo once I was retired from my regular job. Um, and what happened was that I had a part-time job with the VA, and nationally they closed the department that I worked for and decided to give that work to contractors. And a friend of mine saw that on my Facebook and said, "Hey, now that you have some hours freed up in your life, I was wondering if you would train my son in karate, because I've always watched you and I've admired your ability, and I'd like him to learn from you." And I was like, okay, why not? Especially I was like, in a moment of transition where now I had about 20 hours freed up in my life every week. And I trained his son a couple times, and he said, just I had a property. I have a property that was going to go to a certain business, but that arrangement's fallen through. What do you think about opening a dojo? And I was like, well, this is a little bit early. I don't, I'm not prepared to run a dojo right now. I'm going to wait till I retire. And he said, well, just come by and take a look at the place. And TJ, it was like my dream. This dojo is located right next to a park, and in fact, right next to a Ellicott Creek, and it just integrated with nature and a lot of the philosophies that I had about training and working with people. That I was like, well, this is the ideal setting. I can have them train in outdoors. and get used to using their self-defense techniques in a place other than a square room on flat floors. Um, and then the other piece to this school, this dojo, was trying to name it. And I remember looking at it and, struggling with it, what exactly I wanted to call it. And finally, the gentleman who serves as a landlord, but also has become a student of mine, Howard Cadmus, the owner of our neighbor, Sweet Jenny's, he said, well, what do you want to call it? And I said, well, okay, the sound of the creek and the look of it just reminds me of a water dragon. And so I really want to name it the Water Dragon School. And that in Japanese, since I'll be teaching karate, that would be a Mizuchi. A Mizuchi is a water dragon. And I thought it was also kind of cool to and have a school that's named translates to the school of the dragon, really, to put it simply. So I thought that was really awesome. And then Howard paused for a little bit. We were messaging back and forth about this dojo name idea, and he goes, "Oh, you mean like this?" And it turns out he has a tattoo of the Mizuchi on his shoulder. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I guess that's it. That's the name of this school. I guess the rest is history. So we opened that up. We opened up the dojo in the midst of the pandemic on February 1st of 2020. So we just completed 2 years of being open. We're going into our 3rd year of operations. It's a small school. My training floor can handle maximum 10 students and myself. So that's like 11 people total. And so it's a very different training ethic where you can go to a lot of martial arts schools and they can usually accommodate 20 to 30 people on their training floor with multiple instructors. I can't do that. So that's fine too. That's what I want, because then it allows me to talk to more of my students, observe them more directly, give them feedback. But it's also turned into a thing where all the students have developed a good supportive attitude towards one another, and they give each other feedback. And as I mentioned earlier, they feel free to ask questions of me and really personalize their training. So that's all been part of the great experience for me in martial arts is really this school.
Yeah, and kind of think about like the training in martial arts. I did a previous episode. I was talking about like, do you think martial arts training should be at home, should be mandatory? And yeah, in this case, I say yes and no. I mean, yes. I mean, one thing, you're teaching them a lot of things in life, teaching about like organizing, like planning, and of course, obtaining, like you want to earn like your work and pretty much other stuff. And I say no because you don't want to turn to work for them. I mean, they got other stuff, school, sports, and of course, family stuff. And, when I tell my students to train, it should be at least a minimum of 2 to 5 minutes, because you're just training on what you're lacking of in the class and getting better. I mean, I don't want them to make it think it's a workout. I mean, the workout's for actually class only, but when you're working out at home, or training at home, it should be a minimum of 2 to 5 minutes. I mean, you're just building those muscles, and please prepare. Well, usually I tell my students it's better to prepare for an opportunity when you don't have one versus having an opportunity and not being prepared. And I tell these students, like, you're preparing for class every week, and usually I know the students that don't train have trouble with the same things. I tell them, like, this is what you need to get better, but yet some of the students, like, you can't blame them if they have certain like medical or mental condition. I don't like to say disability. I kind of get rid of that word. I say condition, like, or limitations. So like, everybody can learn, but everybody has their like limits of how they can learn.
Yeah, I refer to them often as challenges versus like disabilities or disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a better word to describe it. All right. Yeah. So let's kind of get into like the martial arts festival that you're a part of. I know I was talking to my instructor about it. He didn't have much information of what that festival was. I was like kind of like looking at it when you like see your page, and I was like, it kind of seemed interesting. So, of course, can you like talk about like I know you're involved with it. You're one of the instructors doing it. So, can you like talk about that?
Yeah, thanks for asking about it. I'm very excited to be a part of the festival. Where that came from was that Datu Tim Hartman, and Datu sort of is a Filipino word that means grandmaster. So Datu Hartman is a grandmaster of Filipino martial arts. I think he's like the authority in the world at this time for his system. And he had been organizing these festivals in prior years, but like many things with COVID, it sort of fell off. And so that's why I think this is the fourth one, if you look at the posters for it. But it's been several years. And where this came from was that for myself, after I opened the school, I had enjoyed both when I was training in Shotokan, but then later on in Ishinru, going to not only tournaments, which are often competitive, and that's about all that occurs there. Like you can compete in a variety of different categories of martial arts, but it's competition. You do learn something, but it's not exactly, that's not exactly the point. But I've also gone to festivals or weekend retreats on martial arts. And I always found those very invigorating, as you said, trying to like take my cup, empty it out, and fill it up with something else for a little bit and see how maybe I can integrate that into what I already know and do. And so I used to go to the Saratoga Martial Arts Festival in Saratoga Springs, and more recently, and I thought Western New York, with all the different martial arts schools we have here, all the highly trained people, masters, grandmasters, that Western New York should be offering one. And so I approached the local group of martial arts schools and said, what do you think about Buffalo having a festival? And Dr. Tim said, well, we used to have one. As a matter of fact, I've organized in the past. And so that would be great if you want to help us organize one again. So myself and several other martial artists in that coalition said, yeah, let's do it. And what this will be for anybody who hears your podcast is a series of workshops, 30-minute workshops led by local area grandmasters and masters of a variety of different martial arts. Not only obviously Datu Tim with Filipino martial arts, as you mentioned, myself with this Ishinru variant Mizuchi Do, but also there will be Taekwondo masters and such as I think, oh my gosh, you might have, I don't know if you have the poster in front of you, but if I was to,
Yeah, I think I know a couple of the people that are. I know there's Robert Heisner. Yeah, because I'm familiar
yes,
with him. Yeah,
Grandmaster Heisner, I think he had his origins in Taekwondo, but he's come up with his own system as well. But yeah, so there's a variety of different masters that'll be there. And when I'm looking at I'm just trying to pull up the poster, so I apologize because I don't want to mispronounce anybody. There we go. So yeah, so you got Grandmaster Heisner. He does Budokai, I think, and then you got
yeah,
Master Charles Garino. So that's Taekwondo.
yeah. I'm familiar with him too. Yeah,
Yeah, and then we got Sifu Charles Whitborn. So that's Kung Fu. Master Todd Patterson. He's originally from Taekwondo, but he's created something of his own system with Pride Martial Arts, where he gets more MMA going into it. And then just not to leave anybody out, there's Hanshi Hillman, Shihan Pinkman, and Sensei Guida. So Taekwondo, Kempo, a variety of different martial arts will be represented at this workshop. And anybody who signs up and to participate every 30 minutes, they'll have the opportunity to sample what different martial arts styles consider to be a valuable skill. So I'm very excited. It's just, how often do you have that opportunity to like be able to get just a quick sampling of a different martial art and say, is this something I might want to incorporate in how I do my martial arts? Or no, now I know what they do and I'm still not interested. But hopefully you come out of it gaining a new respect and interest in all the martial arts.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, like in the beginning, like I'm actually trying to learn these Shotokan katas. Like, of course, I've learned how to do impi. Then of course I came across this another kata, Jin, of course, Jin. So yeah, that was like a good kata to look at because it's similar to the kata that I learned, Jian, of
Mm,
course, Jion. So that's like good. So it's nice to actually learn about this festival because I go into tournaments and I see people doing these katas that are similar to mine. That it's just I have the urge to go and talk to them and say, like, what's this kata called? It's similar to mine. It looks amazing. And of course, yeah, that's the thing that we kind of like miss out in this area because it's like ever since the pandemic, we never had like the tournaments like Smack Internationals and of course the Super Grams. Those were like competitions to look at. I mean, I wish they would come back with that, but nevertheless, of course, I don't know if that's going to ever come back. But nevertheless, I actually go to these competitions and actually sometimes compete and actually watch. And of
yeah.
course, it's nice that I know that there's like a festival that I can actually be a part of. I mean, yeah, but I know it's just not an option, but it's just like a not a mandatory option, but it's something that I could be interested in.
Mhm.
Like I said, with me being preparing myself for fifth degree, I could just actually do this like for my performance if I am selected. So whatever I get out of this festival is I can actually use in my performance.
Mhm.
So it's actually nice to actually. So when is this festival again?
Oh, okay, sure. Let me pull that back up. So the Buffalo Niagara Martial Arts Festival 4 will be on April 15th, and it runs from noon to 5. If you purchase a ticket before April 1st, it's $40, and after April 1st, it's $50. Um, you can find out more by going onto www.horizonmma.com. Because that's where it'll be located at Horizon Martial Arts, which is in West Seneca on 280 Center Road. But yeah, so that's when it'll be held. And as mentioned before, during that time from noon to 5, there will be 9 different workshops of about 30 minutes each with a short break in between.
Oh, amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I might check that out. So hopefully I can register for April Fool's Day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
why
that
not save some money? And I think I would say too would be ideal for most students, I would think, is to bring a buddy with you to like, to find somebody else you train with or and invite them to go with you, because obviously martial arts is an interactive thing. And so there could be different elements to these workshops where they say, okay, find a partner and we're going to do this technique together. And it would be nice if you knew your partner already. I certainly would say that for any young people planning or interested in going, they definitely should go with a partner already in mind, so they have somebody who they could work with who's like similar stature, similar age, similar place in their training or so that they could get more out of the workshops. But yeah, like for myself, my plan is to instruct on the concept of hikate. So I'm going to be doing showing people a couple of different training tools with the emphasis on a routine that I think Kung Fu stylists would refer to as flowing hands and sticky hands. So that's what I'll be doing with regard to my workshop. And so you'll definitely need a partner for that one, because flowing hands occurs between 2 people. Um,
Yeah, I mean, even if I don't find a partner, I mean, I don't mind going alone, but I mean, I'll work with anybody. So I
Yeah,
mean,
and I'm
I'm
sure there'll be
yeah.
there'll be enough extra adults there that people can like just find partners of the different people that come to participate. But I would say, I think for young people, it'll be important for them to come with a partner because obviously they're not going to want to be paired up with a random adult. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's kind of get into like the superhero
Oh,
alliance stuff.
sure.
So where'd you come across that? Like did you create that or that was like something you took over?
Great question. Yeah, the Super Alliance was basically proposed by the general manager, Anthony Sprague of the Buffalo Bison's baseball team. And he originally did that when he was, I think, in promotions um, and special events. He came up with this idea. He came up with the idea of Star Wars Night, which is a very popular event at their stadium. As you know, most baseball teams have these specialty nights to try to bring in fans and bring some more fun into the evening. And after the success of Star Wars Night, he thought we should have a superhero night. And he reached out originally to this Star Wars fan group called the North Ridge and said, "Would any of you be willing to dress up as comic book characters and do a sort of similar show based more on comic book like characters?" And so I was one of a bunch of local area costumers or cosplayers who were addressed and I joined in that way. It sort of like joined this activity as a participant on a very like limited way. But then we started saying, we should become an organization. And so there was a lot of talk and meetings and I was elected by my peers at the time to be the president of the group. And as we continued forward, we said, you know what? And with the support and encouragement of the Bisons, we proceeded to organize to a degree and attain nonprofit status. So we're a 501c3 organization, and the primary mission of the Super Alliance of Western New York is to provide support to organizations that focus in on the health and well-being of children. So, we do appearances. So, for example, at Children's Women and Children's Hospital, Roswell. Um, we've done appearances of fundraisers for children who are suffering from significant illnesses and their families were having difficulty raising the funds needed to get that done. But as you mentioned, we don't just stay with those types of events and organizations. We will do appearances for children's birthdays, and then we'll do fun things like for example, we're going to be appearing at the Regal Walden Galleria on February 17th for the premiere of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So we'll be there with high quality costumes, basically like film accurate costumes, not only from the Ant-Man series, but from other Marvel Avengers type of characters. Yeah, so it's been great. I've been involved with them since 2015.
Yeah, amazing. Like of course I enjoy doing cosplay. You know, the last of course Comic-Con I went to was Fan Expo in Toronto, of course, a 4-day event. And that's like amazing. Like unlike the Comic-Cons I've been to, like of course I've been to of course Nickel City Comic-Con, Niagara Falls, Hamilton, and of course I go to Fan Expo. Unlike the other Comic-Cons, this is like a big Comic Con. It's like you walk around, you hardly have no room to walk. But nevertheless, you
Yeah.
have like so many good like cosplayers, celebrities. You know, yeah, I looked at like we got mutual friends that are cosplayers. So yeah. And I like enjoy going to this. It's like this is like my guilty pleasure. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a question I'll ask you later, what your guilty pleasure is. But yeah, it's like I work a lot. I work a lot of hours throughout the week, and you know I have to like have some fun. So in this case, I actually go either wrestling shows or Comic Cons, and you know I wish I would have had to gone to the Hamilton Comic Con that happened this year, but injured my knee.
Mm,
So I mean, that
yeah.
was
Yeah, I
but
think you
luckily
have to know if you didn't already know, not Buffalo Comic Con, Nickel City has been the ownership and running of that has been taken over by the same people who do the Niagara Falls Comic Con.
oh
Yeah, so they're gonna bring it, they're gonna take Nickel City and bring it up to the level of what they were doing up in Niagara Falls. So that's very exciting for Buffalo to have like not only Buffalo Comic Con but also Nickel City Con.
yeah, the great thing about the Nickel City Con is like I actually got to meet my childhood hero, Hulk Hogan.
Ah,
Yeah, that was like yeah, it's like my friend actually messaged me on Facebook. It was like, yeah, have you met this person yet? And it's like it's Hulk Hogan. And I was like, I went to save my money like for the photo op. And then next you know, I'm in line and yeah, it's like a dream come true. I just go in there, take the picture with him. It's like I wish you could actually have a chance to talk to them in the photo op, but you know you don't. But
yeah,
it's
no.
mostly when you're yeah. And when I was there, I saw his autograph table go from like the starting line to like somewhere like almost the exit doors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that you're right though. I think the nice thing about Nickel City is that it tries to be more like a standard like New York City Comic Con, or as you mentioned, Toronto's Fan Expo, where they bring in like high level guests and give you those opportunities to meet your childhood heroes. And that, yeah, that was an amazing one. I remember that. When Nickel City was occurring before, the Super Alliance was in charge of running their costume contests. And so we were there throughout the day, helping people process and be able to participate in that. Um, yeah, it was always a lot of fun.
yeah, definitely. I can't wait for Nickel City. That's like the week before I actually go to like the convention, the Las Vegas convention. So yeah, hopefully I can make a couple appearances there because I know the rest. You definitely are one friend of one of my wrestling promoter of Nickel City Wrestling. Of course, Shadow Cat. That's what he calls himself. Yeah. So yeah, definitely I'm a wrestler for him. So yeah, you might catch Nickel City Wrestling of course, handing out posters for the wrestling events. So yeah, and of course, I'll be making my return in the fall. So once I get healed, yeah, my character be back. Yeah, TJ Cards, the video game warrior, be back. Yeah, I'm getting there. All right, so we're kind of gone moving along real good. So yeah, let me ask you this: who you look up in this journey?
like that I've met who's inspired me.
Yeah, who you look up to?
Um, wow. Like I said, in some ways, the person I really am inspired by was Bruce Lee. But I guess intriguingly enough, also Jackie Chan a lot. And certainly I'm very influenced by my master, Jim Svetkovsky, but also his Hanshi Ed Binkowski were very influential in how I think about how to engage in martial arts and were very supportive in me and my journey. Um, so I would say, at least from a martial arts perspective, those are the people I most look up to. Um, but like I said, in some ways, I've been able to find even greater inspiration in the students I work with.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's you always find inspiration like somebody famous, and then of course somebody that trained you, and yet somebody that you actually trained, you find the inspiration like to actually look up to. So
Mm,
yeah, yeah, I'd have that same feeling. No, I got somebody famous, then of course I have somebody that really pretty much raised me. You know, I have my master instructor. Consider him my karate pops.
mm,
So yeah, he pretty much looked after me pretty much after 26 years of martial arts. So, and, you know,
amazing.
I actually have other instructors and pretty much the instructor I started with. I mean, he's the reason why I got my new job
Mm,
because he had worked the same company. So, yeah, it's like you develop that trust with that person that you've been around with for like so many times, so many years. And it's like your life kind of gets better when something comes up and, you know, that person looks out for you. So it's always great to look up to that person.
agreed. it's nice to have somebody who can guide you. Like I said, I had a bad experience with a master way back when, and that did sort of sour me to training in martial arts. I'm just glad that, you know, when I went and started to find my son a martial arts school, that I was able to relight that flame in myself, and it's certainly taken me in a direction I'm very happy with.
Uh, Definitely amazing. All right, so of course, before we get to our like hidden dojo segment, here's the last question. I know you mentioned that you had Bruce Lee inspiring quotes, but can you think of any more inspiring quotes that describes your journey?
No, I'm thinking I can give you those quotes specifically. Like, so here's one, and that's this one I've actually applied in a lot of different ways to my life, but also when I think about martial arts and even putting forward my own system. Um, Bruce Lee once said, if you always put a limit on everything you do, physically or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond them.
Yeah, I heard that quote. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, that's the thing I like about Bruce Lee. He's such a great philosopher, and yeah, it's like really he could come up with some type of quote, and people have no idea what he's talking about. But really, a person that actually has like goes in depth with that really understands like what he's actually saying. It's
Mm,
like that's the thing I like about philosophy. It's like you make things so like mysterious, but next you know, if you understand like actually get a photograph in your head of what he's talking about, like yes, this is what he's talking about. Yeah.
mm,
And I usually tell my students, limitation is nothing when you believe in yourself.
Yep. Yep. Well, and like I was telling this other guy, who was struggling, um, with, you know, learning a kata, and I said, you know, I know you're going to get this. And all I need is for you to believe that too. You know, the only thing that stands in the way between you and success is yourself, and whether you quit or whether you persevere. And that's really the only difference.
Yeah. You know, I always try to work with my students and not make them quit. I mean, I always like try to find out like what they're lacking. You know, that's the thing about like trying to get away from technology. I mean, technology is good, but you know, you don't want to get too hooked with technology. The next, you know, you just want to get hooked with that phone, the video games, and you know, everything else is like, why bother? I just want to get the video games. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached our hidden dojo segment of the interview. So this is what we're going to learn the fun parts about Bill Reynolds. So here's some 7 questions for you, and of course, you're answering them in the best of your ability. So you ready for this?
I'll do my best.
All right. The first question is the best piece of advice you ever gotten, and who said it?
The best piece of advice I got was from Master Ed Binkowski, where he told me that for as strong as that I am with my technique, that in order to make martial arts into a lifelong pursuit, I needed to become a blend of both hard and soft, as well as straight and circular. That's the best advice I ever got for my training. It's really highly influential, and I credit it as to why I'm now 40 years into my training, and I see no reason that I'll ever be stopping. I'll do this to the day I die.
Yeah, amazing. And this is the one quote that I got from my art teacher. I mean, is go beyond what you know.
Mm,
So yeah, it's like just don't go by what you like know about like today's society. Like kind of go into like the past of like how things were years ago to like really learn about what how we do things today. So it's like you're kind of jumping into like a time warp and kind of learning like what's happened years ago and comparing it to what you're doing now. So yeah, I can really understand that really you got to get like the traditional side of martial arts versus what we do now, like of course, it's kind of silly that people would tape their fights and put it on YouTube, and
Mhm.
people would know how you fight. And next thing that's just like the worst way to look at it. So the
Mhm.
thing says if they know how you fight in YouTube, like you have to change your style. So when they actually fight you, they think that you're fighting the way that they saw your YouTube. Next thing you know, you trick them, and then
Mhm.
yeah, it's like that. I really tricked you.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Here's the next question. A lot of people don't get this one, but the worst advice you ever gotten.
Huh. I, I think if there was a piece of bad advice I got was that I should wait until I retire before I open up a school. Um, that that was probably the worst advice I've ever heard, especially now that I did go ahead and open it anyway, and just what a reward it's been. Not definitely not a cash cow. This is not the way to riches, but it's been so rewarding in every other way.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, if I was to open a studio, I'm not gonna wait till I'm like in my 60s to retire. I mean, likely if I can get one open by my 40s or even like 45, I mean, that'd be something that I probably would want to do. I mean, I'm not gonna wait till like I'm retired and like, there's nothing to do. So, I mean, I'm gonna find something to do.
Mm,
Definitely. Yeah. All right. This is what I mentioned before. The next question, guilty pleasure. How do you reward yourself?
mm. Yeah, for me, my guilty pleasure is playing video games. Whenever I do it, I'm like, oh, is this really the best use of my time? But I have so much fun with it, and unfortunately, I haven't. I allow myself to have that time. Once I know I've done everything else I need to do, I'll sit down for a couple hours and enjoy a video game.
And I'm trying to get myself out of retirement. I mean, really, of course, I like that, like the classic video games. I have my Pandora arcade
Mm.
uh box. So yeah, I got that when the pandemic happened. That was like something that I liked. I like the classic video games, and the fact that you are bringing the arcade home, you don't have to worry about wasting quarters. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta make sure you play the game well so you're not wasting a lot of quarters. So yeah, I probably the most arcade game I was good at was Mortal Kombat 2 because I know the trick how to beat people, and I
Mm.
ain't had to waste too much quarters. Uh, all right, next question. What famous movie would you like to be in?
Oh, you mean a martial arts movie?
Well, pretty much any movie.
Oh, geez, any movie? Uh,
Yeah.
I guess although it wouldn't end well for me, I would love to be in Aliens. That was just such a great story setting. The fact that I would be murdered by aliens, because only, none of the Marines survived, but I would love to have been a colonial Marine in Aliens. That was just such a fun movie.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, my favorite one was Resurrection. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I met one of the actors in that movie, the Resurrection, Brad Dourif.
Oh,
Yeah,
Brad Dourif. Wow, great. What a great character actor, right?
yeah, the voice of Chucky. It's like I
Mm.
actually got to meet him as well as Andy Barkley, Alex Vincent. Yeah, that's like the second time I actually met him at a Comic Con. It's like I had my autograph picture I had with him, and then of course he gave me like a photograph, or I had a picture with him for free. So yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, same thing I happened with Ray Parks. I mean, I drew a picture of Darth Maul. He gave me an autograph picture for free, and of
Uh,
course, I had to take a picture. Yeah, you know, uh, those are
Ray
great
Park,
celebrities.
amazing. Did you know that like Ray Park, who was an accomplished martial artist, that his portrayal of Darth Maul, strikingly influenced how lightsaber combat would go from that point forward, because of all the martial arts he incorporated into it. he, like, to this day, you can like come up to him at any con, and if you have a weapon of some sort, you can throw it his way and he will just do stuff with it. If you go to a con and you happen to come across him in the hotel bar or a local thing, he'll sit down and drink with you and talk with you like a regular guy. He's just superior. I can say this though too: if you treat him like a jerk, he has no reservations about treating you horribly in return.
Yeah.
Games for that too.
Yeah, it's like of course I know he did a lot of tricking. I used to do that. I enjoy his B twist.
Mm,
Yeah, it's like amazing thing and when I'm watching Star Wars, I try to imitate that. And then of
mm,
course when I actually got it right, and I actually showed him a video of me actually doing a B twist, and like he gave me tips of how to like get better with it. So
mm.
it's great. All right, so secret talent.
Hmm. Secret talent, huh? Well, as it turns out, I guess I have a secret talent for acting. It's not so secret, obviously, because I've been in a bunch of independent films. Usually, more lately, playing the aging martial arts master who dies. But I've
Yeah.
done other characters as well, and very proud of my performances, but not something that everybody knows about me. My favorite performance was actually as a character, my version of Red Skull. I really enjoyed it, and when I saw the final product, I was very proud of the performance that the director got out of me. It was really nice.
Yeah, but yeah, it's actually nice for me to be in the movies. But actually, I was in like a local movie. Saw Smart Marks, of course, wrestling. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, it's on YouTube right now. But yeah, I'm actually like in a couple scenes in a movie because I'm a pro wrestler, like I mentioned, and
Hmm.
I'm just there, just doing my thing, and just being pretty.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I got a couple of them on Amazon Prime Video. Uh, One of them was Diary of a Lunatic, and the other one is My Neck. Um, you might like My Neck because it's sort of like a live action anime, um, with a lot of references to that style of portraying martial arts.
Yeah, that sounds like ironic for the name, my neck.
My Neck, yeah, it's hilarious. It's a comedy.
All right, dream celebrity encounter.
I had one, which is I got to meet Donnie Yen, but if I would say that, as mentioned earlier, if I had any martial arts celebrity I would want to meet, it would be Jackie Chan. I have a lot of admiration for that guy.
Yeah, it's like all the movies he's done. I mean, I definitely can admire his like experience with like stunts and all the injuries he's gotten, and of course actually having on his own stunt team, which is amazing too. Because I seen like a documentary. He's like he works
Mhm.
with a stunt team, and the
Yes,
fact that
yeah, he's great. Like, and he treats him like family, as I'm sure you saw. I mean, that's part of why I like him so much. There's a lot of humility to him. Like, I think he's the first action hero to portray himself getting beat up. Like, he doesn't like just isn't perfect, and let alone his how he would show his creativity and all these sort of like found weapons that he would do within his movies. Just amazing, the imagination, the creativity, the humor, the humility. So much about him to love. And he's a
yeah,
singer. That's, I guess, his sort of secret talent.
yeah. And one movie that comes to mind is Big Brawl. Yeah,
Oh,
it's like yeah. I enjoy watching that movie. It's like him and of course yeah, he's him like fighting all these other guys, and it's like he's like amazing.
mm.
All right, here's the final question. 10 years from now, where you see yourself?
Well, 10 years from now, I will be in retirement. So I imagine I'll be more, not full time with the dojo, but I'll definitely increase the hours. I'll probably offer daytime classes since I'll be available during the daytime, in addition to the evening ones. Um, I yeah, that's where I want to see myself, is still helping people in their own journey of the martial arts and helping them find their personal style.
Uh, yeah, amazing. I definitely probably like to see you like on Facebook or even in the news. Like definitely you're progressing well with your dojo. All right, so
Thank
before we kind of cut out, is there any last minute words you'd like to say to the listeners out there?
I would say, sort of like what you were implying earlier, that martial arts is really for any human being, and whatever your age and whatever your physical challenges are, mental challenges are, I think it's not only a great way, of course, to learn how to defend yourself in this life, but also how to in a more healthy way, get with and through this life with other people. Uh, I just think everyone should look at the closest school to them and consider becoming a member there.
Yeah, amazing. Hey, thank you very much for giving your time today, Bill, because definitely it's been a wonderful experience. You know, it's actually nice to actually meet somebody that's in the same area as I am. You know, it's amazing. So hopefully I can actually make it to that festival and at least learn from some of the guests that we got.
Well,
Hey,
TJ, I hope to see you there, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
hey, amazing. So I'm gonna do my little final is my end to the show. Hey, all right. So for those who are just joining me for the first time, please tune into my previous episodes on bicbpradio.com, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And I'll see you next time for another episode here at the Kickpod podcast. This is your host TJ Williams, bowing you out.